What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream right here on Cassius Morris Official. Happy Halloween. I am not in a costume. I guess I'm not very much in the Halloween spirit this year. I don't know about you guys, but it's not hitting quite the same, the Halloween thing. It's just not hitting the same. I'm scared enough. I take a look at grocery prices. I'm scared enough. Take a look at gas prices. I'm plenty scared enough. So we got plenty enough fright going on here leading into 2025. But welcome back to the channel, guys, and I hope you're having a great day. Today on the stream, we're going to be breaking down Joe Rogan's refusal of Kamala Harris's podcast offer. That and all the details about that are coming up in just a moment. And the bulk of the stream today is going to be Young Thug officially being released from prison after over 2.5 years in what has been the longest legal trial in Georgia history. We're going to break all of this down right here on the stream right now. And shout out to all my people coming in. We got Youth Among Us in the chat. We got Nathaniel. Shout out to all my people. Let me know what you guys are doing this weekend. It's a good day. Beautiful day to be alive. So hopping into Joe Rogan. Now, for anybody who missed the official statement which came out, in a natural reaction to Joe Rogan's Donald Trump interview, the main question that people have been asking is, when is Joe Rogan going to interview Kamala Harris? You know, obviously, if he has the pull to interview a former president, he would definitely have the pull to interview somebody who's trying to become the president for the very first time. Now, apparently this interview was actually going to happen, but they reached a little hiccup when it came to the agreement. As you can see here from the tweet by Joe Rogan, the statement reads as follows. He says, "For the record, the Harris campaign has not passed on doing the podcast. They offered a date for Tuesday, but I would have had to travel to her, and they only wanted to do an hour. I strongly feel the best way to do it is in the studio in Austin. My sincere wish is to just have a nice conversation and get to know her as a human being. I really hope we can make it happen." That is the official statement from Joe Rogan as to why he is not doing the podcast with Kamala Harris. Now, we do have some more video of Joe speaking on this that we're going to look at in just a second. But essentially, look, it seems like the main sentiment here is that Joe Rogan would not have been given full control over the setting for this interview with Kamala Harris. And from what I understand, it seems like her team was really trying to tailor things to her benefit, to sort of take Joe Rogan's show, take his platform, and try to kind of switch it up for her benefit, switch it up for the benefit of their campaign. And obviously, this is something that Joe Rogan is not willing to do. We have this clip of Joe speaking on the situation. So let's play it before we break it down any further. This is a clip from his latest podcast episode. Let's take a look.
To cancel on us to get Kamala Harris on.
I was not going to do that. I would have had to. I knew you guys flew from England, and I wasn't going to cancel on you because she had an opportunity to come in. You could look at this and you say, "Oh, you're being a diva," but she had an opportunity to come here when she was in Texas, and I literally gave them an open invitation. I said, anytime. I said, if she's done at 10 o'clock, we'll come back here at 10 o'clock. I go, I'll do it at 9 in the morning. I'll do it at 10 p.m. I'll do it at midnight. If she's up. She wants to, drink a Red Bull, fucking party on.
Yeah, but I think this idea that you're being a diva is silly because you're asking her, you're offering her the opportunity to do exactly what the other candidate did, right?
Well, she actually reached out when she found out that he was coming on. So their camp reached out to me. So I said, great, I would love to talk to her. But it was very difficult to tie it down, and they wanted to travel. And see, the thing is, like, you can't, if I go somewhere, then there's going to be other people in the room. And they want to control a lot of things, I'm sure, according to the Brett Breyer interview on Fox. Like, people were waving them off. That's a distraction. People in the room, like, my whole goal with her and with him is just talk. Just have a conversation like a human being. You find out things about people. You get a sense of them, at least, a real sense. That was it. I don't give a fuck what we talk about. I really don't. I just want to talk to you. Who the fuck are you?
Do you think they think that you're on his side and they're more wary of you?
I don't know. I mean, there's just because of my appearance, there's always been this assumption that I'm some right-wing MAGA guy. I was a Bernie supporter. I
Interesting observation there by Joe. I definitely don't think it's due to his appearance. It's probably more what he says that leads people to believe that he supports Trump. But nonetheless, there's Joe speaking on the fact that he did have an offer actually coming from Kamala Harris. So a couple important things to take away here as we unpack this clip. Number one, the Harris team reached out to Joe Rogan and not the other way around, and they did it in a sort of as a reaction to Donald Trump going on Joe Rogan. And that seems to be a very common theme in the Kamala Harris campaign right now. It seems like they're trying to play catch up with Donald Trump because every time he makes a move, they are sort of picking up behind him and doing the same moves. For example, we saw Donald Trump go and make a visit to a barbershop in New York City. He sat down, he was talking with the people who ran the barbershop, and it was actually a very successful sort of PR stunt for Donald Trump. A week later, after the internet says Kamala could never sit in a barbershop and talk with the people, Kamala Harris pulled up to a barbershop with the exact same setup and basically did the exact same thing. You know, we've seen Donald Trump doing all types of podcasts. He's been doing Theo Vaughn. He's been doing different shows. After we see that, then we see Kamala Harris popping up on a show like Call Her Daddy. So it really seems like the Harris campaign is trying to sort of mimic a lot of the moves of Donald Trump and follow along with what he's doing. So I'm not surprised that they actually reached out to Joe Rogan to do this podcast. However, what I am surprised about is the fact that they tried to CNN the situation. Okay, they tried to do the exact same thing they did on the last presidential debate, which was basically formulate a situation where everything would go Kamala's way. Okay, they wanted to have, you know, you look at the debate where they had the microphone settings. They had all the rules for the audience, you know, and a lot of this started with Joe Biden when he was debating Trump. But it seems like these campaigns are trying to rig things, at least in the favor of people who are going against Trump. And this is exactly what they tried to do with Joe Rogan. You know, he also mentioned that the podcast could have been done in Austin while she was in Texas, but she refused the offer to do it in Texas. She wanted to do it on her turf. And I think it's a really good move by Joe Rogan to actually tell them, no, I'm not going to do that. Because for as big as Joe Rogan has become, I think he actually does a pretty decent job at trying to remain authentic. You know, if you compare Joe Rogan today to Joe Rogan, you know, back in 2008 when he first started, there are major differences in the sense that he is a major voice now. You know, like there's always this idea that Joe Rogan is a voice against the mainstream media, and Joe Rogan is standing up against the mainstream machine. Hate to break it to you, man, but let me tell you something. 2024, almost 2025, Joe Rogan is the mainstream media, okay? He literally is the mainstream news. He's bigger than Fox. He's bigger than CNN. He's bigger than MSNBC. So there's no concept of Joe Rogan being against the mainstream media. That's out the window. But what I do respect about Joe Rogan is the fact that even though he is bigger than the mainstream media, he still doesn't play their dirty games. He's not going to sell out his platform in terms of his opinions. And he's also not going to sell out the integrity of his platform, which is a one-on-one, face-to-face conversation with nobody else involved. Joe, an example, because it was incredibly distracting seeing her handlers, you know, distracting the interviewer, waving, trying to get him to wrap up, trying to change the questions he was asking. And I personally can't imagine a situation where Joe Rogan is trying to conduct a podcast in the way that he does it, in the way that he wants to present his show, and he has handlers in the corner giving him hand signals about what he can and can't say and how long he can run. I mean, that completely would never work for a Joe Rogan podcast. So the idea that the Harris campaign would be able to come in and, okay, we can have it with Joe Rogan, but it's not going to be the Joe Rogan experience. One, I think that's just a terrible idea, because anybody, like in terms of a pitch, if you know Joe Rogan, if you're familiar with him and his content, you know he would never go for that. Like there's really no scenario, at least in my opinion, where Rogan is going to completely sell out his show. And it's not like he hasn't been given the opportunity, okay? We got to remember, this is a guy who was offered to host one of the presidential debates in the 2020 election and turned it down because he didn't want that on his show. He didn't see that as the way his show was going to function. So, you know, the idea that you're going to get one, you know, pull a fast one on Joe Rogan is insane. I also respect the fact that Rogan is still saying the floor is open for her. And I really do think that this would be a good decision if Kamala's team just sent her over in a plane. I mean, look, Donald Trump does like 10 appearances a day. I mean, I saw something online. It was showing his schedule from like 6 in the morning till 1 in the morning. The guy flew to 3 different cities. You know, if he's able to do that, Kamala Harris, if she claims she's fit to be president, so if you are, you should be able to hop on a jet and go to Austin, do the podcast, and then go do your other commitments. It shouldn't be that challenging to get you in the room. But now what this is making it look like is they're making it look like Kamala now is running away from the format because she's not capable of handling it. And that, my friends, is a really, really bad look, because now what this is saying to the world, since Joe Rogan decided to be transparent, is I literally told Kamala Harris she can come on my podcast anytime. But since she won't be allowed to rig the situation, now she's not going to do it. And what kind of message does that send to the American people about the person who was campaigning to be their president? You know, one of the most important things I really think for a US president, since so many people are focused on their personality, is being able to talk off the cuff. It's something that all of the presidents in recent times have been able to do. Bill Clinton was great off the cuff. Bush was great off the cuff. Obama, phenomenal off the cuff. He was funny. Like, he didn't need a teleprompter at all times to get a point across. He didn't have to read a script. Same with Donald Trump. He's arguably better off the cuff when he's not reading the script. And Kamala Harris is one of the only candidates in recent memory when it comes to politics who appears to be, and I'm going to say appears to be because she's not giving us anything else to work with, but she appears to be completely incapable of speaking for herself and speaking in a way that's not orchestrated to her benefit. And I really do think that is a bad look to the American people, and it's a bad look to the world, because you're, again, telling everybody that you can't handle this. Again, Joe Rogan has said that he will have Kamala Harris on. I'm trying to read some of you guys' comments to see what you're saying, so let me know down below in the comments what you guys are thinking. People are saying Trump, Trump. Did you guys watch the J.D. Vance interview on Joe Rogan today? Because I saw he also dropped a J.D. Vance interview. And see, Rogan is funny because he's like, oh, people have this strange idea that I'm a Donald Trump supporter. I mean, the dude, you literally just had Donald Trump and J.D. Vance on back to back. So yeah, people are going to get the idea that you're a Trump supporter. It definitely appears that way. But come on, I mean, the thing is, too, we all know Joe Rogan is a Trump supporter, okay? He's not fooling anybody. Even when you look at the podcast they did at the very end, you know, Joe Rogan had a very sneaky way of endorsing Trump at the end of the podcast when he said, good luck to you. You know, I don't know what an endorsement is if it's not that, but if you're telling someone 5 days from the election who's running for president that you wish them good luck, I think that you probably are endorsing them. I think that's pretty safe to say. So yeah, I think, you know, it is pretty obvious that Rogan supports Trump, but that's his right. I still think, though, for everybody's benefit, we should get this interview. And I'll tell you why Kamala should do it. I'll tell you why. Because again, one, if she doesn't do the interview, she looks really bad and she looks like she's running away. But then for Rogan, if he doesn't have her on, most of the general public who doesn't know the backstory here is going to just assume he was giving a huge push for Trump, which also may look bad on Rogan from some of his audience, right? I mean, you have to imagine when you're serving, I call it serving because he's making a product essentially. You're serving billions of customers. You're going to want to cater to the whole customer base. You know, if I was Joe Rogan, the last thing I would do would be cut my audience in half and only be serving half of that audience. So not only for Kamala Harris would this be good to go on the show, because if she can pass the test of the Joe Rogan podcast, if she can pass that test, she would win an incredible amount of votes. Okay? Like, I don't think her campaign realizes how big this would be for her, because this is like a job interview for a lot of people. You have to remember, when Donald Trump went on the Joe Rogan podcast, millions of people who would never listen to him otherwise tuned in. We saw a similar situation with Kanye West. There are people who made their whole personality the fact that they hate Kanye West. But when he went on Joe Rogan, people watched it. And it changed a lot of people's minds about Kanye West. It gave people a whole new perspective of the guy. Because it's a test. It really is a test of, do you have substance? Are you able to carry on a conversation? Because Joe Rogan has been elected as a representative for all of us in a strange way. Joe Rogan has been represented, as the everyman who asks the questions that the everyday person wants to know. And he plays into it so well because, again, the guy's incredibly smart. Look what he's built. But whenever you ask him a question, he goes, oh, I'm just an idiot. I don't know anything. This guy has been playing the everyman, and people have bought into this concept. So to go on his show and actually pass that test with flying colors, I think does more for your campaign than the actual policy and than other interviews do. Because let's be real, Kamala is not winning right now based on her policy. She seems to be winning more so based on other factors. The identity politics is what makes a lot of people support her. The fact that she's a woman, the fact that she's a minority. These are two things that are basically putting her on the ballot. And then some of her personality for the people who like her personality. She really doesn't have a whole lot to work with when it comes to running. So I think that if she would do this and she would perform well, it would be the best move she could make. Go on Joe Rogan and talk about, she has great music taste. Go talk about music with Joe. Go talk about, how she likes that nitty-gritty jazz. She likes the old school. She likes vinyl records. Some of the cool things about her personality. See, they should let me advise her. She'd probably win. But that's the thing. These are the things you should talk about because there's two different types of campaigns. Kamala Harris's campaign is focused on the personality. So it's identity and personality. Donald Trump's campaign is based on policies. Because when you look at the difference, right, the only reason people like Kamala is because of those factors. Now you look at Donald Trump, his personality to people who don't support him is very unlikable. Okay, Donald Trump to the average person who doesn't already support him is not a likable guy in terms of personality traits. However, he wins on policy. So since Kamala is doing the opposite, she's not winning on policy, she's winning on personality and identity, she should lean into that. Right now, she's trying to be the hard policy person, show that she means business. I was from a middle-class family who prosecuted transnational criminals. Listen, nobody's buying it, lady, okay? Go on Joe Rogan. Talk about the shit that's going to get people to like you, because it's not that. It's not that. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. If Kamala Harris was tough, tell me why California's gone to shit when she was sitting on that board for fucking over 10 years. Tell me why everything she touches has gone to shit. And again, it's not personal. I'm not a Kamala Harris hater. It's just she's not giving me anything to like. That's what I'm saying, guys. Go on Joe Rogan. Talk about your middle-class family. If you want to talk about being in a middle-class family, do it in a venue that people are going to care. I don't care about it in a presidential debate. When I'm asking you about the economy, how you're going to lower the prices of everyday essentials, it doesn't help me that you were in a middle class. I was from a middle class family, okay? I worked at McDonald's. I don't care about that in a debate. However, that's phenomenal material for Joe Rogan. Absolutely. Got to go on Rogan and talk. I can't see the damn chat except for the little window, so I'm trying to read what you guys are saying here. Oh God, I don't want that on the screen. What are you guys saying? What are you guys saying in the chat, guys? You think they both have crappy ideas, Rain Man? That's valid. It's a valid perspective. See, a lot of Trump supporters in the chat, guys. A lot of Trump supporters lately in the streams. And this is what I would say to anybody who's supporting Kamala. I would say you guys really need to make your voices louder, because everywhere I go on the internet, I see Trump supporters going crazy representing Trump. Like, the representation is insane. I don't see that type of love in the comments for Kamala. I don't see that type of love in the chat. All wars are political murder. I agree. Talk about the deep state. Well, we kind of are talking about the deep state because really the deep state is who is handling Kamala's campaign. You know, we have to remember, whether you love or hate Donald Trump, the one thing about him that really made him stand apart from other politicians is that he may have been in the celebrity world, but he wasn't in that deep state Washington world. Okay, so Kamala Harris is being handled by the best of the best when it comes to deep state. She's being handled by the same people who handled Obama, the same people who handled Biden. And we've seen how conniving they really are. We've seen how good they are. No matter who the candidate is, we've seen what they can do, okay? So the only difference now, I think, is that they have less power. You know, back in the day when this was happening, when there was an election, they would have had a guy like Joe Rogan who was under the control of mainstream news networks, and they would just rig it themselves. They wouldn't even have to ask a guy like Joe Rogan to rig the interview in her benefit. You only get 1 hour. You can only talk about what we say you can talk about. You know, all these different things. Back in the day where they had full control, this would have been just done at a whim. The thing is now that they don't have control, they can't do it. They can't execute as well. So the whole deep state thing, it doesn't work as well anymore. You know, we look at the Trump interview on Joe Rogan too. That was completely suppressed by YouTube, guys. This video got 30 million views in a day. And it wasn't on YouTube trending, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say that one more time. A video got 30 million views in a day and wasn't on the trending page on YouTube. If that doesn't sound suspicious to you, I don't know what to tell you. And look, now the mainstream media is back to their lies again. You know, if you look it up now, Joe Rogan baselessly claims YouTube search suppressed Trump interview. That is the latest headline from Forbes magazine, guys. I'm reading it on my computer. They say Joe Rogan baselessly claims the video wasn't on trending. This is the biggest video that's been released in a decade. Like, the Joe Rogan Trump interview is the biggest thing. YouTube should be paying this dude a premium for even putting it on their service, man.
Yes, I sure wish you were as pet-friendly as our...
That scared the shit out of me. I guess an ad popped up. So that's the thing, though. And again, they're completely lying. It says here on Forbes, in the latest episode of the Joe Rogan Experience, the host mentioned something happened with YouTube search results for his interview with Trump, adding the platform, quote, can't suppress shit anymore. Well, that's true, isn't it? It still got 30 million views. It wasn't even on trending. How is that baseless? It's just facts. And Joe Rogan also questioned why his video wasn't trending, saying there's no way it was a mistake. That's too convenient. But it could have been like some rogue engineer. It's ridiculous. Guys, let me read the chat. Do you guys think there's any question that YouTube suppressed that from the trending page? And if you think that they didn't, can you please provide me with an explanation, like an alternative explanation for this? How could you explain that to me? And tell me it's a coincidence. When they took down the Trump podcast with the Nelk Boys, they took it right off YouTube. They didn't even try to hide that one. You guys remember that? The first time Trump was on the Nelk Boys, he said in the interview, they're going to take this down. And what did they do a couple of days later? They took it down. That's right, guys. They're shadow banning. They're suppressing it. And it makes no sense. They would never do it with a Biden interview. They would never do it with a Kamala interview. They only do it with Trump. And then people say, oh, well, you know, you just support Trump. It's not about supporting Trump. It's about speaking the facts, okay? When you see something happen and there's a pattern and it happens over and over again, How many times are we going to sit here and pretend it's not happening? Do you really think things are fair towards Donald Trump in the same way they are to other candidates? I mean, you got to be crazy. Whether you support him or not is not the point. This dude gets different treatment. There's no question about it. So YouTube suppressing this video to me makes them look so bad. So bad. And that's the thing. It's completely on purpose. It's completely on purpose to keep the actual message from going out. Because the one thing about Donald Trump, it seems like when he is away from the podium and he's away from the rallies and all the noise goes down and he gets to sit down and have a one-on-one with somebody on a podcast, he actually comes off fairly likable. And he actually has some interesting things to say that I don't think he really can express when his adrenaline's going. When Trump is at a rally and he's feeding off the energy of that crowd, he says some crazy shit. And I feel like he definitely gets lost in the sauce. Like this dude, the one thing about Trump, he's an insane narcissist. I mean, he's off the charts with the narcissism. And that was shown even more on the Joe Rogan podcast. So when you give that guy a crowd, it feeds the negative aspects of him as much as it feeds the good parts. So I do truly think a lot of what he says gets lost in translation, and I'll see him saying sort of wild, boisterous things in his rallies. But when he gets to sit down with somebody like I think Theo Vaughn, he did okay on that show. He kind of just seemed like somebody's grandpa. He did pretty good on Rogan. I think he's more interesting in that setting and you can get to know him better. And how convenient that YouTube suppresses that. But then when he goes on stage at a rally and he talks about Hannibal Lecter, they put that out. They push that. They push that, he's eating the dogs and the cats, or maybe not him, somebody. They push these things. They don't push the videos where he looks good. These are just facts. And again, people want to put you in a box for speaking the facts. This is not a political endorsement. This has nothing to do with my personal beliefs. I'm literally watching it happen. So what are we going to do? Sit here and pretend it's not happening? She was appointed by the people. Kamala was not appointed by the people. Kamala is there by default, my friend. It's totally cool if you support Kamala. Trust me, this chat is open to everybody, but I mean, come on. You can't say she was appointed by the people. That's a little outrageous. That's the whole thing about her being in there too. Like, I don't think she's like an evil woman. I just think that she doesn't belong, at this point in the race. She would have never gone this far. She ran for president before. I don't even think she made it to the primaries. There is no circumstance where Kamala Harris runs for president starting from scratch and she gets this far. I firmly believe that. There is not a chance in hell that if Joe Biden didn't drop out, she would even be in this position. If Harris wants to do Joe Rogan, it's going too fast. I can't read it. I'm going to try to read it here. What are you guys saying? Evil woman. Kamala was Joe Biden's sidekick. The orange man belongs in the race. I mean, the orange man was already president, so he's more qualified than she is. She shouldn't be allowed to go this far. That's the only defense. Keep letting me know what you guys think. Who am I voting for? I'm not voting. I'm not American, so I'm not voting. I am just here to talk with you guys. That's really all my point is at this point. We're going to read a little more from the Forbes article. Where we left off was that, and again, I love how Forbes is trying to spin it like YouTube didn't suppress the Trump and Rogan podcast. It clearly did. So it says in this episode, when he spoke on the interview being suppressed, Rogan also shared that Elon Musk was furious about the issue of the Trump podcast being censored. And he called Spotify CEO Daniel Ek before he posted the video on his own X account. So Elon Musk jumping in, and again, that I'm not surprised about. At the end of the day, Elon Musk seems to be borderline obsessed with the concept of free speech. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad somebody is. But if you're going to mess with free speech in 2024, almost 5, Elon Musk is going to be involved, okay? This dude has been a free speech ambassador, free speech warrior, probably in a way that I think is costing him. Obviously it's not going to cost him financially because he's what, a trillionaire almost. But I definitely think that if Elon Musk didn't really care about freedom of speech, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing because he's turning a lot of people against him. Which is so funny, by the way, because think about what turned people against Elon Musk. The fact that he is a crusader for freedom of speech. So if that is what's turning people off, what are we being fed the rest of the time? That is my question. If we are turned off, or not me, but if people are turned off by a guy fighting for freedom of speech, what is the alternative that we have every day? Do people enjoy the censorship? I mean, it's absolutely insane. What do you guys think about Elon Musk? Do you guys like Elon, or do you have an issue with him? Let Diddy out of jail. I'm not doing that, Linda. Trump for president. What are you guys saying? Let me know. I want to hear what you guys have to say in the chat down below. Forbes says Rogan had tweeted Tuesday that the interview faced an issue with searching. So yeah, basically we talked about it being suppressed already. Elon Musk is awesome. Harris 2024, we got to save our country. Muskrat literally committed voter fraud. Interesting, guys. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of varying thoughts on Elon Musk. If somebody was to ask me my thoughts on Elon Musk, I think he's an important person. And I do think, though, that we need to wait to see what happens with some of what he's doing. The thing about Elon Musk is that he's working very hard on doing things now where the impact will really be apparent in the future. Like the impact of what Elon Musk is doing today will likely only be clear to us 5, 10, 15 years down the line. So I'm reserving my full-on judgment of what he's doing for that point in terms of the result. I think like what we're seeing now with X, it's too soon to really judge. It just happened. We're going to see really what Elon Musk wants to do and his vision for the future as it unfolds. So I think he's an important guy. I don't agree with everything he says or does. And by the way, guys, if you agree with everything that anybody says and does, I really think that's the time for some serious evaluation, okay? I don't agree with everything my own mother does, my own father does. So like the idea that you would support everything a politician does, that's incredibly dangerous too. I would definitely say that. I mean, that's what you got to watch out for, right? Like none of these people are our buddies. That's the main thing. None of these people are our buddies. Somebody said Trump would call you the hard R. You son of a bitch. How dare you? How dare you say that to me? That's so disrespectful, bro. Like, that really hurts, man. Joe Rogan's interview, his time, his place. Exactly. Oh my God, man. That's so funny. Yeah, so basically it looks like there's still a couple of days for Kamala Harris to do the interview. Now, the interesting thing to me would be, too, if she won, because I guess there's still a chance that she could win, if she went on after winning, and Joe Rogan was to interview a sitting president of the United States. Now, that would be very cool if he could pull that off. And it would also show a level of authenticity for Kamala in her campaign that she wasn't just going on to try to win votes, okay? Maybe even if she lost, go on Joe Rogan. We're not going to see that, though. Because does anybody really think she has that level of authenticity? I don't think so. I don't think so. She's making a small stop for her campaign instead. I make it sound like it's going to be a close race. I'm not making it sound like anything. There's still a chance she could be president, is there not? I mean, that's definitely, I don't think that's a debatable statement, that there's a chance she could be president. Is that a debatable to say? Trump Vance 2024. She was fake from the go. Yeah, guys, I'm telling you, she really, really should go on Joe Rogan, because right now I feel like there's such an ambivalence towards her. Because she's been given opportunities to go out and speak. She's been given opportunities to let her voice be heard and let people really get to know her. And the thing is, she hasn't done that. She hasn't done it. She's been given platform after platform, and she hasn't actually given us something to grab onto yet. The people who support Kamala Harris supported her from the beginning. And the people who didn't support her when she first was announced still don't support her. That is the issue with the Kamala Harris campaign. In my opinion, I don't think she's been able to actually convert any voters. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has converted a lot of people into Trump supporters. Look around. I mean, I don't think anybody can deny when all the polls and all the mainstream media bullshit dies down, and you just walk down the street and look around, read comment sections, read the chat. I mean, Donald Trump has way more support today than when he first won. Way more support. We got to remember, people were telling celebrities that their career would be over if they endorsed Donald Trump in 2016. Now, if you support Donald Trump and endorse him, it's like whatever. Which is what it should be, by the way. There's two sides for a reason. Who came up with this idea that there's two options, but if you pick one of the two options, you're evil? Who came up with this shit? I think you should vote for whoever the fuck you want to vote for. You like Donald Trump? Go vote for him. You like Kamala Harris? Go vote for her. What the fuck? That's the reason there's two options. If there was only one option, there wouldn't be two of them on the ballot. But they made it that, well, there's this one option and then Donald Trump, but if you support Donald Trump, that's the wrong choice. And how did America let people tell them who to vote for? Like, I feel like now people are waking up from that. Like, how can you sit here and tell me who to vote for? Who fucking gives you the right to tell me I can't vote for who I want to vote for? It's ridiculous. And it's backfired too. That's the thing. It completely backfired on the deep state. It completely backfired on the mainstream media to make Donald Trump the victim of all of these crazy tall tales, because he's done, trust me, if you want to go against Trump, he's done plenty of stuff for real that you could question. You know, if you think somebody's a bad guy, the worst thing you could do is say they did 3 crimes when they only did 2 crimes, okay? Because that third crime that you made up is going to give people leverage to say, well, this was a lie, so the other bad stuff he did must also be a lie. And that's where the mainstream media and all these people completely failed, okay? They made straw man after straw man, going after Donald Trump, making up lies, Russia, 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 there's no Hunter Biden laptop, impeachments, this and that and the third. And the people lost faith in them. The people realized that most of this stuff is completely bullshit, okay? All you would really have to do with Trump, if you want to go after him, just go at what he actually does. He gives plenty of material. I mean, he's done some crazy shit in his life. He's said some crazy shit. Go with that. Use that if you want to use it, if you really have to. The second you start making shit up, the whole argument collapses. Because then people take the things he actually did and say, well, that must be made up too. It is completely backfired. And look at the support that Donald Trump has today. I cannot believe the support that Donald Trump has today. Somebody said Trump hasn't converted anybody but lost more of his base since 2016. It's going so fast, I can't see who said that, but I would say this. I think Trump has lost a lot of supporters and basically replaced them with new supporters. So that's completely right. Don't get me wrong. He has lost a lot of support from the original campaign because he's different now and his campaign is different now. I find that actually a lot of the more far-right people have actually turned on Donald Trump. Because here's the thing about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not as far-right as people actually paint him out to be, okay? So when he gets in the rooms with the real alt-right, the real alt-right, like Mike Pence, I would say, is fucking insanely right. So, like, he's way more conservative than Trump. Trump loses those people because he's not far-right enough for them. So I think he's lost a lot of support in that way. A lot of the actual extremists, super extreme conservatives have left him. And that's the thing. Now there's a lot of people who I think are more so in the middle or more so less extreme, but they're still conservatives who seem to like Donald Trump now. You know, you look at all these people who he was associated with, all the people who are, you know, called neo-Nazis and this and that, they've actually say they don't support Trump anymore, if you go and look into it. So he's lost support from the most extreme part of his base. So I'm just reading what you guys are saying now. Trump is the only politician who loves America, says John. I definitely think Donald Trump loves America. I mean, without America, there is no Donald Trump. So I definitely think, even if it's due to his narcissism, because he loves that he's rich and famous from America, whatever it is, he still loves America. I don't think there's any question there. If you guys are enjoying the stream, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I'm live almost every single day, and we're going to be doing election stuff almost every day until it's over, guys. It's going to be very, very interesting. And I appreciate everybody saying that they like my open-minded, perspective on this. I love talking with you guys. I'm not here campaigning for any candidate, and hopefully that's a breath of fresh air for you guys to come and have a real conversation about this. Because every single person, damn near, that you see talking about this has an agenda. I actually don't have an agenda. I'm genuinely just talking with you guys. And I think that that's what makes these streams so enjoyable, at least for me. Harris lies, and I hate Biden too, but Trump is not the answer. See, that's fair too. That's who I really feel bad for is the people who don't like either one of them. That's who I really, really feel bad for, man, because that would suck. I think, again, like, Biden was a terrible choice. For the people who hate Trump, he's a terrible choice. And there's a lot of people who hate Kamala. So I really do feel for the people who really don't feel like there is a good option on the table. And I think that's a shame. Because they say, get out and vote, get out and vote. How am I supposed to vote if I don't like either candidate? How am I supposed to vote for somebody who I can't relate to, or people that don't speak to me? And I will even say, I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. There's a lot of people who don't like either one, because on that presidential debate, I truly think they both did horribly. The presidential debate between Trump and Kamala Harris was one of the worst debates in American history. It was awful. I mean, it truly did not represent, and I've seen her do fairly well in hearings and things like that. I've seen her express herself in a way that works, it sticks. And I've seen Donald Trump perform very well also in different settings. I think when he really is on, he's on. But that night of the debate with Kamala, he was not on. And he was terrible. He was terrible. I mean, she was worse. You know what? I can't even say worse. They both bombed that night. So that's what I would say. Write in my name for the president? Hey, you never know. Yeah, I hear you guys, man. The Trump people are cultists more than the Dems. I don't think so, man. I think there's cultists on both sides. I think the cultists on the Trump side are equally as bad as the cultists on the left. And there are many of them on both sides. Anyway, man, I mean, I'm going to go quiet if I sit here and read the chat. Again, like I always say, the show here is not me. You guys are the show. This is the show. Every single thing I'm reading here, you guys are the show. So I just wanted to say huge shout out to you guys. Make sure to subscribe so we can keep the conversation going. And again, I mean, I'm not gonna argue with anybody. We're here to have a conversation. If you guys want to debate in the chat, please be my guest. Okay, I think we're going to move on to the next topic. I guess my closing thoughts would be I really hope this podcast happens, guys. I really hope this podcast happens. And it would be amazing to see Kamala go on Joe Rogan. And again, the closing thought is this. It would be amazing no matter what the outcome. And I do think that these interviews should be essential for people who are running for the presidency, whether it's with Joe Rogan or otherwise. We should have a long form sit down with every single person who's running for president, because if it goes well, that's amazing. It's great for their campaign and it's great for everybody to get to know their candidate. If it goes poorly, it is exactly as beneficial because it shows that the person is not qualified. I firmly believe that if you cannot sit for 2.5, 3 hours and have a conversation with an American voter, you are not qualified to be the president. You're simply not. If she can't do that, she can't sit and talk for a couple hours. She should be able to do that. And if she can't do that, guys, I firmly believe she is not qualified to be the president, among other issues. You know, she already has a terrible track record. She already has, a record of lying about Joe Biden's cognitive abilities for 4 years. She was part of one of the biggest cover-ups in American political history. She covered up the fact that the man, with his finger on the nuclear button, didn't even know he was the president. The guy didn't even know. Like, Joe Biden was asleep at the wheel for 4 years, and she hid it. She went on TV and told us he was doing well. Not only did she cover it up, she actually embellished and told us Joe Biden is sharper than ever. I mean, give me a fucking break. It's just insane to me. And that's why I can't trust her. But at the end of the day, I think she should do it. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, and make sure you're subbed up with that subscribe button to keep the conversation going. We're going to hop over to the next story, and oh my goodness, man, I am so happy that this story is on the roster for today's stream. Young Thug has officially accepted a plea deal, which he later switched to guilty, but he accepted a deal to be released from prison. Now, the Atlanta rapper has been locked up in jail for 2.5 years, 2.5 years on trial, trying to figure out what's going to happen with this YSL RICO case. For anybody who's not familiar, Young Thug was the leader of YSL, which was a record label that also, on the other side, was a criminal organization. He was charged for racketeering. He was charged for illegal weapons. He was charged for many different things, basically using his record label as an umbrella for criminal activity. And this is incredibly serious, the case that was leveraged against him. However, now it looks like Young Thug is actually going to be released from prison. And I am definitely biased on this story. I'm a huge fan of Young Thug. I love his music. I was literally just chilling with somebody last night, and she asked me, when do you think Young Thug is going to come out of jail? And I told her never. I literally said, I don't think he's ever going to come out. I think it's too serious. The very next day, it's been announced that he's going to come home. So let's take a look at a couple of video clips. So first we have Young Thug This was right before he was told he was going to come home. And this is him actually apologizing to not only the judge and the court, but his family and everyone else who was involved in this trial. I think this is a really interesting clip here. Whoops. Okay, we're just going to leave it the way it is. Let's take a listen.
All right, Mr. Williams, is there anything that you want to say?
Yes, ma'am. I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can't say all their names, My managers, my kids is not here. Really, everybody that got something to do with this situation, I want to say sorry for just having so much time invested into this, and I am a smart guy. I am a good guy, and I really got a good heart. I find myself in a lot of stuff because I was just nice or cool, and I understand that you can't be that way when you reach a certain height because it could end bad, and it don't really have to have nothing to do with you, but it could end bad, and it could, fall on you. And I know the choice is yours, it's up to you, and I hope that you allow me to go home today and just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again unless it's at a bar in the future or something. Just out of this type of situation, I promise you I won't ever be in this type of situation again. I'm going away. I've learned from my mistakes. I come from nothing and I've made something and I didn't take full advantage of it. I'm sorry. Through these last 2.5 years of my life, you are really, truly, honestly, the best thing that has happened to me because you made everything fair for me and everybody involved.
Young Thug speaking in court right before hearing that he was going to be released by the judge. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think Drake was right in his latest song. Young Thug definitely learned his lesson, okay? When you hear this dude, the way he's talking to the judge, he told the judge who locked him up for 2.5 years she was the best thing that ever happened to him. Okay, I think this dude should be let out of jail today. This man has learned his lesson. And I do think that it's very interesting to hear Young Thug even talking with this kind of cadence because it actually struck me as authentic. It actually felt real. Now, for anybody who, is not familiar with all of the details, in May 2022, prosecutors arrested Young Thug and the majority of the YSL record label / gang and cited that the rap label that Young Thug was the head of was a front for an organized crime syndicate responsible for 75 to 80% of violent crime in the city of Atlanta. 75 to 80% of the violent crime in the whole city, one of the most violent American cities. So this dude, that's why I was saying that I never thought he'd get out, because what happened with this case is they started trying to make an example out of him. Okay, they tried to make an example out of him, and they were sick and tired of these dudes running Atlanta. If you were a prosecutor in Atlanta or in Georgia, period, if you're in law enforcement, if you're anywhere involved in the legal system, the person you would go to sleep fuming about would be Young Thug, because this dude is the face of criminal activity in the city, in the whole state. And this is a guy who made life hell for police, lawyers, judges, anybody in the law system. He made their life a living hell. So this person I never thought would get out of jail. And, I think it's worth saying too that as great as his music is, because we all love Young Thug. I would say everybody in here probably enjoys Young Thug. He makes phenomenal music. It's not even a question. But this dude was also responsible for some very serious crimes. Among the crimes that he committed were multiple shootings, including a shooting at the mother of one of his, opposition. I don't like saying ops. I'll say ops if I have to, but the opposition, okay? He shot at the mother of one of his enemies and then rapped about it in a song with Juice WRLD. This dude was blatantly committing Scarface level crimes. And not only doing it shamelessly in broad daylight, but actually rapping about it. Actually going out and gloating about his crimes. I mean, we saw a similar situation with Lil Durk in the last couple of days. This dude ordered a hit and he played audio of the person he murdered and their friend finding them dead. I mean, so all of these rappers who've been doing this stuff, 2024 was the year that the legal system decided to make an example out of them. So I'm totally not surprised. And I also never thought he would get out. So I'm actually more surprised by the fact that he is getting out. So Young Thug, as we saw here, says he takes full responsibility for his crimes. Prosecutors had planned to recommend a sentence of 45 years, including 25 in custody and 20 on probation. But the plea negotiations were unsuccessful, and Superior Court Judge Paige Whitaker instead chose his punishment, commuting his sentence to the time he has already served, paving the way for his release. So it looks like I'm trying to figure out exactly what they're saying that the conditions are going to be when Young Thug comes out. So he did plead guilty to 3 drug charges, 2 gun charges, and 1 gang charge. Young Thug also entered a no contest plea to the racketeering conspiracy charge and a separate gang charge, potentially opening himself up to being punished for the criminal counts. So Young Thug is going to be on a 15-year probation deal. This is exactly what the deal is going to be, a 15-year probation deal for Young Thug. Williams will also have to stay out of the Metro Atlanta area for the first 10 years of his probation, make an anti-gang presentation for children 4 times a year, and perform 100 hours of community service every single year. These are the conditions that Young Thug is going to have. Can you imagine the samples, by the way? Like when they sample like Young Thug at the gang presentation, you know they're going to use all these clips in his music now. The community service will be funny as well because, I mean, imagine you're driving down the street and you see Young Thug picking up garbage. But again, all of these conditions are better than being locked up in a cell. And at the end of the day, I do think that this is going in Young Thug's favor, and I think he's very, very lucky to be getting out of jail right now. I mean, the odds of getting out when you've committed this level of crimes, and it's a different level too when you have the RICO charges, okay? When you have the RICO charges and you have, you're liable for funding a criminal organization with this level of reach, I mean, this is what jails were made for. Jails were made for people like this to be under the jail. So the idea that he's going to get out, all I can say is he definitely has some incredible lawyers and an incredible legal team. And we actually have a video from Young Thug's lawyer. For anybody who's just joining, Young Thug's is going to be released on a plea deal. He's going to have to do 15 years of probation. The first 10 years, he's going to have to be out of the Atlanta metro area. He will have to make 4 anti-gang presentations every single year for young children. And he will also have to perform 100 hours of community service every year, actually. So I forgot to add that part. Every single year, Young Thug will have to perform 100 hours of community service. Now, that's actually not that hard. I mean, I think I worked this month on a part-time job. I probably worked like 120 hours on a side gig. So, I mean, you could do that in a month. It's not that hard. You do 6 hours a day for, a month, and you can get that done or however you break it up. So Young Thug getting off pretty easy for running a criminal organization of this scale. We're going to go to this video of Young Thug's lawyer, and it's interesting because Young Thug's lawyer is not satisfied. Okay, he is not happy with what happened, and he thinks Young Thug should have been found not guilty on all charges. Let's take a look.
Make a plea and just how today ended up going and transpiring.
Well, this was excruciating because hopefully, in our collective opinion, Jeffrey would have been found not guilty of everything. So this is very painful. But that's another 3 months or so in custody. And he wants to go home to his family. And negotiations totally broke down with the district attorney's office. Horribly broke down. And at that point, we believe that justice will be found with the honorable court. And Jeffrey just wanted to go home. How agonizing it is to know that we've spent a year trying a case where the prosecutors have put on lies, knowing lies, hiding evidence is insane in 2024 in the United States of America. And the only reason that this got revealed is because of you people. You people brought the truth to the community because nobody knows this. This is not the only courtroom it's happening in, and I just want to thank all of you. I especially want to thank Jeffrey for letting me represent him. I think he's a wonderful person who does wonderful things and will continue to do things even greater. I cannot express to you how Shaquille Kokomo, how Trisha Renard, how Haley, how my wife Colette, how Bram, how countless people, but especially Miss Courtney Edwards, has worked without sleep for 3 years representing Jeffrey. And how
Now we're going to end the clip there. The video goes on for about 15 minutes. But as you can see, Young Thug's lawyer is not satisfied. And again, this to me is the mark of a good lawyer. Okay, I don't care if I'm getting out in a couple months. I want my lawyer to be working tirelessly to get me out of jail. I see a lot of people in the comments as well saying that Young Thug should have been found not guilty. Guys, let's get real for 2 seconds. I love his music too, but the guy is completely guilty. Let's not be blind worshipers of celebrities. That's the one thing I don't do. This celebrity worship culture of they can never do any wrong and they're innocent no matter what, complete bullshit. Let's just drop that right at the door. Young Thug was obviously guilty on most of these counts. He rapped about it. He openly, blatantly bragged about committing crimes. The lyrics in Young Thug's music were not fantasy. And it's the same with Lil Durk. Make sure to go back to my channel and find that stream where we talked about it the other day. These guys were rapping about something that should have been fantasy, but it was real. You know, it's like making a movie Friday the 13th, but he's actually killing people in the movie. You know, it's like if you have Jason Voorhees stabbing an actor with a real knife, that's basically what his music was. He was rapping about committing real crimes. So again, I love his music. Phenomenal rapper. He was in my Spotify top 5. But let's not get it twisted, man. And I'm glad you guys agree. Because we can't blindly worship celebrities. Frankly, we shouldn't worship them at all. You know, for me, like, I enjoy Young Thug's music, and that's where it ends. That doesn't mean I think Young Thug is a great guy. That doesn't mean I'd want to have a beer with Young Thug. I don't know him. So at the end of the day, it's not a situation that crosses over. This person is responsible for making great art. They could also be a bad guy. And I'm not even saying he is a bad guy, but the idea that Young Thug is completely innocent, you're not going to get me on that one, guys. You're not going to get me on that one because I can't agree with that. What I will say is this. If the guy's learned his lesson, if he's going to stop committing mass crimes. I mean, we just read here that the prosecutor said YSL was responsible for 75 to 80% of the crime in Atlanta. So it's like, this dude was a menace to society. Let's just call it how it is. But this to me is a mark of the system actually working. If you can take a guy who is responsible for that level of criminal activity, allegedly, and you can actually reform this guy without ruining his life and send him back to society as a productive member of society, that to me is actually a win all around. That's a complete win. It's a win for Young Thug, and it's a win for the justice system, because this is justice actually being served, my friends. This is justice in action. Reform the guy. Don't ruin his life. The guy has kids. Send him back to his family. But make sure he doesn't run this level of crime, and it's because it's not okay. And I mean, we have to think about it too, if somebody did it who was not a celebrity, right? If you heard of a guy shooting at people's moms and shooting at young girls, like little kids in the street, and they weren't a celebrity, you would never say free that person. Yo, free this guy, he didn't do anything. You would never say that if he wasn't famous. But just because he's famous, now it's free Young Thug. I mean, let's not get carried away here. He shouldn't exactly be free for everything that he's done. So, somebody said he has to be accountable. Exactly, held accountable. If y'all think this dude isn't about to get locked back up, you're crazy as hell. Well, I was thinking that too. He definitely might get locked up again. We're going to look up, we're just going to read some of the actual crimes that Young Thug did as well. And just sort of the reason he was in there in the first place. So basically, the reason that Young Thug was arrested was on a 56-count RICO case against Young Thug, Gunna, who, by the way, Gunna got out scot-free. This dude got out a year and a half ago. This dude got ripped. He's making better music than ever. Gunna came out on the winning side of this. He got a ton of press and then he went home. Young Thug has been sitting in jail dealing with his friend's crimes for 2.5 years. So it's been harder for Thug. But the 56-count RICO case was leveraged against Young Thug, Gunna, and 26 other members of YSL. The 88-page grand jury indictment. 88-page indictment against these guys. This is insane. Characterized YSL, aka Young Slime Life, as a, quote, criminal street gang. And it was alleging 182 instances of the collective's participation in gang activity and criminal conspiracies, citing lyrics, social media posts, and clothing as evidence. Okay, so here's the thing too. YSL was all-encompassing. They did have a clothing brand. They did have the record label. They did have lyrics about all of their crimes. So the thing about these guys too is that if they were really gangsters, like if we're talking gangsters like Goodfellas, they would have never said anything. And I always say this, if I was a rapper who was doing crimes in real life, I would be rapping like Will Smith. No curse words. I would be literally rapping children's nursery rhymes if I was a rapper who was committing crimes. You could not pay me enough to snitch on myself. I don't care what the advance is on that record. I don't care what the record deal is. It could be $100 million. You could not pay me to commit a crime and then go talk about committing said crime when I haven't been caught. People want to talk about snitches. They snitched on themselves. Young Thug snitched on himself. Lil Durk snitched on himself. Nobody snitched on these guys. They deadass did it to themselves. And that is the crazy part about this. These guys left a paper trail for the feds. You think the fucking Goodfellas would leave a paper trail? The only times that those guys got caught, real gangsters, is when they fucking got caught slipping. They never intentionally would do that. So these guys want to run around talking about how they're gangsters when they snitch on themselves. I mean, what type of gangster is going to make a song saying, I shot this dude on the corner next to Lenox Mall at 2:12 p.m. on October 1st? What fucking type of gangster is going to say some shit like that? That sounds like a Fed. That sounds like a fucking federal informant. That sounds like Tekashi 6ix9ine. not a gangster. And we look at the lyrics here. Let's pull up the lyrics before we keep reading. In the song with Juice WRLD called, what's that song called? Hold on. Bad Boys is the song. So on the song Bad Boys, Young Thug has a lyric about one of the crimes which was actually named in the massive indictment. So here's the lyric. Young Thug says, quote, "I shot at his mommy. Now he no longer mentions me. You say you want smoke and I've been coming down the chimney. I had on Margellas when I shot at the cunt." Guys, I'm reading this. This is real. "I shot at his mommy. Now he no longer mentions me. I had on Margellas when I shot at the cunt. Act like you want war and they gonna smoke you like a blunt." I mean, what the fuck were you thinking, my guy? What are you thinking? Who's coming up with this shit? Yo, Thug, you gotta put that on the record, man. That shit's so hard, bro. All the yes men. Yo, that shit's hard, man. Put that on the album, Thug. You gotta be fucking crazy to put that in a song, man. And that's a real crime. We click on the Genius definition for that lyric. Listen to this. When Bad Boys was recorded, Young Thug had a very well-documented feud with YFN Lucci. In 2022, it was revealed that Young Thug was involved with 2 drive-by shootings conducted on YFN Lucci's home. While no one was killed, Lucci's mother and another occupant were hit. During Young Thug's RICO case trial, the prosecution brought up this lyric. And here's what they had to say about this lyric. At some point, Lucci's mother was shot, and in a song called Bad Boys, it says, "Better watch the way you breathe around me, for that breath be your last." Smith & Wesson 45 put a hole in his heart. "Better not play with me, killers stay with me." And of course, "I shot at his mommy, now he no longer mentions me." The prosecution says that they believe that Mr. Williams doesn't sing about random acts. He sings about gang acts that he's a part of or his gang participates in. I mean, what the fuck, dude? That's why when people say free Young Thug might have been free if he wasn't acting so stupid. Okay? If you weren't doing, it's like if I come on here right now and I say, "I just robbed a bank. Hey, police, I'm live. I just robbed a bank. Come get me, come get me." And then when the cops come and put me in handcuffs, the whole chat says, "Free Cassius, man. He never did nothing. He didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing." Okay. Okay, sure. It's fucking hilarious, bro. Hilarious. But look, Lil Durk, going down the same way. Lil Durk is going down the same way, my friends. And we are just going to watch this story continue to repeat itself over and over again until these guys get a clue. Personally, I think, and I've said it a couple times in the last couple days because we've been talking about Lil Durk and all this, these guys are incredibly ungrateful for their own talents and their own gifts and the opportunities those talents have afforded them. To be living like Young Thug, in today's economy especially, to be that rich off legal money and to fuck it up, you got to be greedy, stupid, or both. Okay, you're greedy, you're stupid, or you're both. Because there is no reason these guys should be having any illegal side hustles to make them extra money. Unless they're not making as much money as we might think. And we've heard that before. We've heard that rappers are not as rich as you think. And, you know, a lot of these rappers are broke. Like, we've heard that. And that actually, now that I think about it, it might be true. Because why are all these guys feeling the need to dip into criminal enterprises to make extra money when they're supposedly so rich? I mean, let's really consider the alternative. Maybe they're not as rich as we think. And I have thought that. I do think the whole rap, the image of rappers is very much orchestrated and very much fake in a lot of ways. So it's not like they don't have money problems. Who knows? Young Thug might have had some money problems. It's not likely, but it's definitely, you know. I agree with DMC in the chat. Stack up your money and don't keep trying to be a gangster. Dude, who wants to be a gangster? That's just lame as hell. Like, honestly, man, people don't think that's cool anymore. Okay? Like, only idiots think that's cool. I gotta be completely honest. And again, it's great for the fantasy. Like, that's why I like to listen to 21 Savage, and he talks about killing people and shit, because I know it's not real. It's a fantasy. You're getting an experience of something you don't get otherwise. But it's not supposed to be based in reality. That's kind of like the unspoken rule, right? Like, we all know 21 Savage has never killed anybody. Okay? You know it, and I know it. 21 Savage is not out here doing crimes. But it's an enjoyable fantasy for the music, and that's cool. And if it ends there, that's cool. It's when these guys actually try to be real gangsters that it's so lame. I mean, it's not cool anymore, man. I think you're a gangster if you're making money legally. I think you're a G. If you're a G, you're making money off of your raw talent. Some of the coldest motherfuckers I know have never done a crime in their life. That to me is what a gangster is. So it's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. Young Thug is going to be coming out of jail in the next couple of months for anybody who's just joining. I see a lot of people talking about Diddy. I've done a lot of streams about Diddy, so make sure to go check them on the channel. If you're liking this stream, I'm live almost every single day. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button up above. We talk about music, entertainment, politics, all types of cool stuff. And to all the haters in the chat, thank you for helping me make more money. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? The more you hate, the more I make. So please, by all means, continue. Cheers to you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. 21 Savage's brother was stabbed to death. Okay, so what? Does that mean he's killing people? That doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. James says Rogan didn't refuse Kamala. He wanted her on. He refused her offer. I see so many people confused about the title. Kamala's camp made him an offer for her to come on the podcast, which he refused. So if you read what I'm saying in the title, I didn't say he refused to have her on. He refused to have the offer that she put on the table. Thank you, Celestine. I appreciate that. Thanks for subscribing. Dawn says, I wouldn't be surprised if Pop Smoke was in one of Diddy's videos. Oh, come on, man. That's crazy. Why would you say that? All the New York drill rappers are zesty as fuck and doing zesty dances. Well, I can't argue with that. I definitely can't argue with that fact, but I'm not going to disrespect Pop Smoke, man. He's not here to defend himself. I definitely don't like picking on the dead. That's not cool. So it's been a fun stream, guys. Look, it's definitely, it's a good day. It's Halloween. We got Young Thug coming out. And again, I know I'm not one of these guys who's just gonna say free Thug. I'm gonna call it like it is, but don't get me wrong. There is, I never have said anything about Young Thug's talent. I think his talent is incredible. I think he's actually one of the most misunderstood artists of the modern age. And I think he's a genius. I truly think he's a musical genius. So I'm glad he's coming out. We need some new Thug music, man. It's so overdue. So what do you guys think of Young Thug coming out? Do you think the new record is going to be great? What do you think about the Kamala situation that we talked about earlier? I see everybody in the chat is still talking about the political elements. And I could talk about that all day, but we try to make some different topics. Exactly, like TJ is saying in the chat. They tried to make Joe Rogan travel. They tried to say she could only do it for an hour. I see people in the chat that were saying like, we're reporting you for misinformation. There's no misinformation. They made Rogan an offer and he refused it. That is the fact. Exactly. If not, I'm YNW Melly. Who said that? Oh, that was Kendrick. Pushing P. Let me see you push a T. That shit was funny as hell. You get out of here, boy. Don't tell me to get out of here. You're in my stream, you fuck. You're in my house. You can show yourself out. Come on down here and have a fucking Canadian whoop your ass, boy. Come on down. I'll show you how Canadian I am when I'm slapping the shit out of you. Drake is going down hard just like your boy Diddy. Diddy's not my boy. What the fuck? Bro, you could say anything to me. That bothers me. Do not say Diddy's my boy, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. Canadians are Trudeau supporters? No, we're not, buddy. I was talking about that last night. Not a chance. Not a chance. I would say most of the people here hate Trudeau. Yeah, guys. Somebody said I have a little girl's cup. That is a man making love to a woman, my friends. Something a lot of the commenters wouldn't know about. Cheers. What do you say? You guys are getting funny now. You guys are funny, boy. You guys are funny. Tyson or Paul? Tyson, come on. I love it, guys. I love talking with you guys. Listen, you all make my night. You know, whether you love what I have to say, whether it gets under your collar, I'm equally happy with both results. I really am. I love it. I absolutely love it. Somebody said supposedly Busta Rhymes is on the Diddy's hit list right now. Oh yeah, we'll talk more about Diddy 100%. I'm just going to read some comments before I hop off. I haven't read a lot of comments tonight. I've been locked in on the topics. Somebody said shave the beard. Shave the pube beard. I don't know, man. Women like it, though. It's always women who tell me to keep the beard. And so I usually keep the beard. As long as they're happy, I'm happy. I don't need men to like me. I just need women to like me. I don't care if men like me. Exactly, bro. All right, guys, that's probably it. Look, at the end of the day, I think we covered a lot of topics. I gave basically my say about the whole thing. Right now, I'm probably gonna go, you know, I don't know, watch a scary movie or some shit. What are you guys doing? DiCaprio is on the Diddy freak off list. Oh, he is. Actually, I'm pretty sure Diddy said that DiCaprio was his favorite person to have at his parties. So that's insane. Yeah, I don't have a beard. That's what I'm saying, Christoph. I mean, Frank. I love how I get called a MAGA cultist and a liberal libtard in the same, like, within the same 2 minutes. I love that. I have people literally calling me a Trump supporter and a Kamala supporter all in the same chat. I love it. That means I'm doing my job. I'm not committing too much to either side. I've been called everything from a rogue Democrat to a alt-right. Like, You can listen, I'll be whatever you want me to be, guys. To get my channel off the ground, to get this going, to have people in the streams, I'll be whatever you want me to be. I don't care. I genuinely don't care. If I cared, I wouldn't even be here right now. I'm not the one with a thin skin. But all right, guys, it's been a great night. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to like this stream. Young Thug is coming home, baby, and I'm so ready for the music. I cannot wait. I love you guys. Hope you have a phenomenal night. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween, motherfuckers. I'm going to go watch The Exorcist. I sound like Kamala? Now that's insulting. That is insulting. Don't say I sound like Kamala Harris, bro. That's crazy. I need a nap. I do. I do. I love you guys, especially my haters. Mwah! I love you. Hope you have a great night. And don't wipe off my kiss. Just let it set in. Gave you a nice little kiss. Good night, people.